Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to something I found absolutely insane. And I think not a lot of people actually know this is, I feel like this is unknown news to people. I saw it in the comment section of a video. They said Boston College was a certain record, and I was like, that can't, or they said BC. I could only tie that to Boston College. I was like, no way. No way this team. And Boston College is currently. Oh, the thingy. They are 6-3 right now. They're 6-3. Are you serious? Guys, this is insane. Because if you look at their schedule, here's what we're up to so far. They've got 3 games left this year. They could go 9-3. They could. The toughest game would be Miami at the end of the year, but it is at Boston College, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be some fans at that game if they know their team is 8-3. But let's go ahead and go way back to the start. And really the purpose of this video is to determine, is Boston College a good team? Are they worthy of a 6-3 record? Well, let's go ahead and see. Well, they start off the year with a 27-24 loss at Boston College to Northern Illinois University. Horrible loss. They get off to an 0-1 start, and already I see this and I'm like, there's Boston College for you. And this Northern Illinois team is not good because, I mean, Nebraska's what, 5-4 right now? They killed Northern Illinois like it was nothing. Tulsa beat Illinois. They did play a close game against Toledo, which is pretty impressive, and they beat Ohio, which is also pretty impressive considering Ohio beat Iowa State. But their losses, they also lost to like Southern Illinois, which I don't even know I don't know what conference they're in. Oh, they're in like the small stuff with North Dakota State and whatnot. And South Dakota State. They're in the smaller league, FCS, I believe. And yeah, Boston College lost to this team at Boston College. Off rip, you're like, okay, this team is just not good. Well, then they go and play another trash game. But this, I believe, Holy Cross and Boston College is a rivalry. I'm pretty sure I saw that somewhere. I could be wrong, but I guess it's a rivalry. And this game's more respectable, one, because it's a win, and two, because Holy Cross is 6-3. Now, they play teams like Colgate and Yale and stuff, but they're 6-3. They lost to Harvard, and they took a 3-point loss to Lafayette, and then of course their other loss is to Boston College by 3 points. So at the very least, Holy Cross is a little bit more respectable, and it's a rivalry game, so you can expect it to be close, even if it's this small school. And also it's probably good to mention that Harvard's 7-1, so I guess they're not terrible in their side of the football. Maybe they're just. It's hard to take teams that are like a league under or like a very small division and tie it to a close game, and the records could. Oh, geez, I just dropped my phone. Because obviously, like the smaller conference teams are gonna do better in their conference because they don't have competition rather than somebody in the SEC. But I do believe that is slowly starting to close the gap. Like the difference between FCS and FBS, the gap is closing. There's certain FBS teams that can't even probably compete with the best FCS teams. And that's just that it's slowly closing as time goes on with, NIL and stuff like that. I think that is a fact, but people could disagree with me on that. But not back to the video idea. Boston College takes a 3-point win in a rivalry against Holy Cross. If it's not a rivalry, whatever, they still win. But then I'd say the most impressive loss on this list, one of the 3, is a 2-point loss to Florida State. Remember at the start when Florida State got ranked at 3, everybody was like, this team's so good, they kicked the crap out of LSU. And then they play at Boston College, and they only scrape by 2 points. And everybody's like, all right, Florida State's overrated, they're fake, they're frauds. Are they frauds? Or is Boston College really just an extremely underrated team? Now, it took a fumble, it took a scoop and score to pretty much bring this game closer, but two completely done by Boston College touchdowns. Now, the difference in this game and why Boston College pretty much lost is because their kicker missed an extra point, which on their next touchdown, the scoop and score, they went for two to make it, doable if they score another touchdown and tie it up. And, of course, they didn't get it. If their kicker would have just hit that extra point, they would have scored the touchdown and probably hit that extra point, because then later in the game, they'd score a touchdown and then they'd kick the extra point and it goes through to give us the final score 31-29. And ultimately, if their kicker didn't miss that, I don't know if it was missed or blocked, but either way, it didn't go through. And if that didn't happen, the game completely changes. It completely changes. And they take a 2-point loss to, at the time, number 3, currently number 4, Florida State. Very impressive. That's the closest anybody's gotten to beating FSU. You guys got to realize that. They took a 2-point loss. Nobody's played that close of a game. The next closest team, it's Clemson, and Florida State won in overtime by 7. That's the closest team. So Boston College, that's a pretty impressive game. And then, of course, they go on the road at Louisville, who at the time was unranked, and they lose 28-56. There's one thing that I know about this Louisville team, and it's that playing at Louisville is the hardest place to play at right now. This team looks absolutely dominant when they're on their home turf, and it speaks because they shut out Duke and they kicked the crap out of Notre Dame. Louisville looks very dominant on their home turf. And Boston College still managed to put up 28 points on them. That's the most I've seen anybody put up on Louisville on their home turf. Notre Dame couldn't put up 28 points. Duke couldn't put up a point. Nobody has performed as good as Boston College has at Louisville. And yes, the thing about it is that it could be slanted in some people's eyes. The score going into halftime was 14-42. But the thing is it was 14-49 in the third quarter, but then they scored a touchdown. I mean, they were still playing. Jack Plummer, the starting quarterback for Louisville, was still in the third quarter playing football. And he threw another touchdown, a 55-yard pass to go up 21-56. And then right at the start of the fourth quarter, Boston College had scored their last touchdown, and then they'd run out the game because the game's pretty much over. They still nonetheless put up 28 points. Some people would say, well, yeah, because second strings and whatnot. I disagree, because Jack Plummer's in the game. They're the team to put the most points down on Louisville. And then they play in a close, tight matchup, but walk away with the dub against Virginia, which might not look like the best win ever, because at the time Virginia was 0-5. Virginia got killed at Tennessee, lost to James Madison, got slaughtered at Maryland, and then they lost to NC State. And then of course they lost to Boston College on the road, and then they played a close game against William and Mary. Since then, it's been bounced back. Sort of been bounced back. They go on the road, of course, 3 weeks after the Boston College game. They go on the road to North Carolina, and they upset them, as we all know. They take Miami into overtime at Miami. And then, of course, the worst game so far for Virginia, they got killed by Georgia Tech at Virginia. But I don't think this Virginia team's necessarily that bad. James Madison is currently undefeated. Tennessee, I think what I think about Tennessee, but they're a 2-loss team still. And it was at Tennessee to open the season. At Maryland was a much better team at the start of the year than they are now. I don't know what's happened over there to do that. NC State only won by 3 points at Virginia. NC State has pulled off some really nice wins. They have a 3-point loss to Louisville. They have a 3-point loss to Louisville. They beat Clemson, and they most recently just beat up Miami pretty good. Worst losses is a home loss to Notre Dame and a 24-3 loss to Duke at Duke. But I didn't think they were going to perform well at Duke at all. So Virginia's not a terrible team. Virginia's pretty good. Of course, we all know the win over North Carolina at North Carolina is impressive. Although North Carolina has fallen off since then, still going on the road into a game like that, even if North Carolina was like a 3-3 split at the time, it's still an impressive win in my eyes. It's still a really impressive win. Then they go on the road to Army and win by 3. That doesn't look like the best game ever. However, it is a road game. It is a road game. And Army's got their set of pretty impressive wins. They went on the road to UTSA and won. UTSA 6-3 and undefeated in their conference, the AAC right now. And they won by 8 points on the road. They lost at Syracuse, which doesn't look like a good win at all. But ultimately, Army just had turnovers, and they didn't put up as much offense as Syracuse. So, yeah, you're going to lose that game. They lose 19-0 against Troy after the Boston College game. But Troy is currently in the Sun Belt. Troy is currently 7-2 with a loss at Kansas State and to James Madison. James Madison is undefeated, and Kansas State just took Texas into overtime. Then their worst game of the year, they lose at LSU 0-62. But LSU's a much more advanced team. You know what? They're a much more advanced team. And then most recently, they go on the road to Air Force and they upset them. They win. Also, something to note in that LSU game, Army had 4 turnovers and they failed to convert their 3 fourth down conversions. They failed to convert all of them. So, yeah. Of course, you're going to score with 7 takeaways. That's 7 possessions. If you score a touchdown on all of them, it's 49 points. So, Army isn't the worst team. Their worst game by far is that LSU game. And Boston College went on the road, which I keep saying it, road games are killers. They went on the road, and they beat Army. I don't even know if Boston College was favored in this game. Yeah, Army was favored in this game, so I guess it's technically an upset. So that's also, I mean, it might not be looked upon as that good of a win, but it's an all right win. It's a road game win, which definitely counts. And then a really good, I'd probably say their best win is at Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech's been kicking ass. They beat Miami and they beat North Carolina, and then they killed Virginia on the road. Georgia Tech's an underrated team. They also played Ole Miss 4 quarters in a game I thought Ole Miss was going to get upset for a while. Georgia Tech, I might favor them over Georgia considering it's at Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech is a pretty underrated and good team. Boston College went in there, made it look easy. Then, of course, the UConn game. 14-21 at Boston College. Not the best look, but the game was pretty much over by the start of the fourth quarter. UConn just put on a 30-yard touchdown run to make it closer, and there were no points from that point on. It was all Boston College defense. And then they go on the road and win at Syracuse. Doesn't look like the best win, but it still is a road game win. Honestly, Boston College is deserving of their record. Now to answer the question, are they a good team? I got to say yes. Where people will disagree with close games like against Holy Cross and against Army and against UConn, and then, of course, the loss to Northern Illinois, I see the FSU game being a 2-point game. I see them putting up the most points this year on Louisville at Louisville, and I see them killing Georgia Tech on the road. I see these as great victories. Really defining for the program, and I do think they are deserving of their ranked. They're flying under the radar right now, and they're going to keep doing it until they get recognized. And this team could seriously finish off 9-3. I mean, hell, are we going to hold Boston College accountable for losing the season opener to Northern Illinois University? Didn't Oklahoma State lose 33-7 against South Alabama, and now they're currently number 15? So how come Boston College can't get that same respect? They should be getting that same respect. Boston College gets to host Virginia Tech. That's definitely a very able win for Boston College. Although I don't want to say it's a guarantee because they have played their close games sometimes against teams, whether it be at Boston College or on the road. At Pitt could be scary because, it's at Pitt. The road games are killers. And then they host Miami. If they go into this game 8-3 against Miami, they'll be probably like the same record. Miami could even be like 4-loss team at the time. If Boston College gets into this game as an 8-3 team, there will definitely be fans there and a lot of momentum. And Boston College can win that game and finish 9-3. And nobody would be expecting this to happen. If they finish 9-3, I think they get in the rankings. I think they seriously get in the rankings. They're going to get a sick bowl game. I cannot believe this team is 6-3 right now. The definition of scraping by, but also underrated. They just have their games that look trash, but so far everybody's got a game on their resume that looks like trash. I mean, Alabama's got the USF game. Washington's got the ASU game. Like, every team has played their sketchy close games. Ohio State has their Indiana game. Boston College just has more. Oopsies. Boston College just has more than these other teams. If you're interested in it, or if you're like confused as to what you just saw, I just copy and pasted a slide from one of my previous videos because it already had the layout, which was my Pac-12, like final predictions or something. I don't remember what the video was, but it was just talking about what teams could possibly be. But anyways, that's all I have to say about this video. Boston College deserves to be recognized. I mean, U of A is ranked. They definitely have more impressive wins, but they're 6-3. Boston College is the same record, man. As time goes, if they can win 2 more, I think this team sneaks into the rankings. Because eventually we're going to get into the point where 4-loss teams are going to start getting ranked, and even 5-loss teams. If that's, I don't know. Did we have a 5-loss team? I think Texas was ranked at 25, and they were a 5-loss team. But if we get to that point, Boston College will definitely sneak in if they maintain a 3-loss record. And that's all I have to really say in this video. Like and subscribe would help. A comment always helps. And that's all for me. Adios.